Hey, I'm Alex Radcliffe from BoardGameCo, and I have running water in the kitchen again, which may not sound like a big deal, but for the past 6 weeks we haven't had running water, so we've had running water in the house, to be very clear, but it's not in the kitchen, so it's nice to finally be able to actually wash something in the kitchen as opposed to trying to take it to the laundry room sink. These are tangential problems. If you haven't been following the occasional time I mention stuff like this, effectively my wife's currently remodeling our kitchen, and that does come with some certain sacrifices along the way, but running water, so it's all been worth it. In any case, that is kind of just a random tangent that I just heard water upstairs as I was starting the video, and I was like, I appreciate water. It's one of those fascinating things when you take something away, and then when you give it back, you appreciate it so much more. It's really such an interesting thing, an interesting phenomenon. You notice you're cold, and then you're fine again, and you appreciate being fine, and then 2 days later, you no longer appreciate being fine. It's one of those things we are only really ever looking at the negative, and we appreciate the positive because of the absence of the negative. And when things are going well, we just don't notice it as often. It's a shame. This was a longer tangent than I intended, but all on point. In any case, let's go ahead and jump on into the Week in Review. The Week in Review, where we're going to talk about various news things, announcements, shoutouts, the topic of the week, with the games I'm playing, all these various things, and of course the actual schedule for the past week, had all the videos talking about all of that. And to begin with, a variety of small few shoutouts or pointing to different things around. None of the stuff in new game releases. We'll have those as well. But recently, about 2 weeks ago, I had a video with BoardGameCoffee, where we did a video talking about the nature of going from a hobby to a career in board games. I did that with Daryl Andrews, the designer of Sagrada, so it's the three of us basically talking about it. I'll link to it down below. Anything I talk about today, they'll have links down below. Then Room and Board. Now, I shouted out to Room and Board, I believe on Sunday, I think it was Sunday that I did this, but either way, whenever I did, Room and Board is a YouTube channel that I've recently discovered that I really like, and if you like the Kickstarter content that I tend to put out, you'll probably like the Kickstarter content he's putting out as well. He tends to cover campaigns in the last week or so, while also giving, dedicated announcements over there and occasional previews as well. Overall, I think his quality is on point. I think it is well done. I think it's entertaining. I think it's informative. Solid job. I highly recommend subscribing to his channel if you, get a feel for it. May not be for you, in which case go ahead. Unsubscribe, move on with life. It's all good, but I do recommend giving it a look. He's doing a very solid job. New channel, 4 months in, so good for him. That's going to be number 2. Number 3 is going to be Flamecraft. Speaking of subscribing to other channels, Flamecraft did something on their Kickstarter that I thought was very, very nice. And in fact, it's something that Tanares RPG is also doing as well, which is the idea that they're tying these rewards, or either in Tanares' case it's a giveaway, and in Flamecraft's case it was unlocking something for the game. They're tying it to subscribing to content creators, which I thought was very nice. So for Flamecraft, they put a little goal that if the Hungry Gamer gets 5,000 subscribers, they'll unlock something. In the case of Tanares, they went ahead and chose 3 or 4 content creators who had done videos for them, and had done videos around the campaign or around Tanares, and they again gave, points for a giveaway if you subscribed. I like the idea of that continuous reciprocal relationship of companies appreciating the content creators, and they already do, and some content creators get paid. I'm not going down a whole rabbit hole, but just in both cases, neither of those things was necessary or required. They were just extras, and because they were being mindful of the fact that, hey, we can help be nice to someone else, so why not do so? Because YouTube is a giant place with lots of channels out there, and the constant idea of pushing around people to different channels, different content, to looking and finding and discovering new things. It costs you nothing, and hopefully they find someone they like. If not, they just move on with the life. It's all good either way. And then lastly, speaking of just random content creators you probably never heard of, the Dice Tower. The Dice Tower had a review for Cascadia this week, it was a 4 Squares review, and the part that I want to recommend watching, in case you missed it, like I almost did, and then I caught it the last 2 seconds, they have a Cascadia review, and if you watch their 4 Squares content, that's usually live, they have them sitting there, and then they go into, Mike will show you how to play the game, and then they cut into the overview of the game, and then back to them being live and talking about the game. So watch the part where they transition, and then go to the very end, the last 30 seconds of the video, where they have a blooper reel. It was highly entertaining for myself. Hopefully you watch it and it brings a smile to your face, and if not, well then follow all the things I said before, but just watch and see if it's for you and move on. But either way, I thought it was entertaining, and I just wanted to share it because because I like sharing things. That's basically all that's going on over there. Which brings us to the news and the game announcements and all of that. For news, we have two things, not a ton over there. First of all, IDW Games is officially going to be closing their games division. This is not like totally news. This was rumored for a while that they were in trouble, that things weren't really, that not IDW Games in trouble, but IDW's games division wasn't profitable, wasn't worth it, and they have officially confirmed, I think it's officially confirmed, or maybe it was like a release, I don't remember, some sort of filings of their whatever, but it seems to be that they are officially closing the games division of IDW. That's going to be the company responsible for, the Ninja Turtle Shadows of the Past, for the Batman game and the same adventure system, a variety of games that they've brought to the table, and some that they've canceled, which is when rumors started. Like, they're originally going to be a Metal Gear Solid game that was going to be coming out, and they announced its cancellation. I think that's when rumors really started around IDW not really pursuing its games line, and they're officially closing and canceling it. And then this one is just, again, if you just want random entertaining things that will bring a smile to your face, CMON is partnering with Monsoon Digital to put out a platform for NFTs. If you're not familiar with NFTs, I don't blame you. And if you are familiar with NFTs and you don't understand them, I don't blame you. And if you're familiar with NFTs and you understand why they exist and why these things have value, then give me a call, because I still can't for the life of me figure it out. NFTs, for those wondering, I don't even know what it stands for, but the idea of like digitally signed prints or things. So, like, you can have, like, I could, for instance, potentially have a original, YouTube video of mine. The original of it, which is an NFT, is, I could sell it to you. Everyone else can watch my YouTube video, but you'll have the original. These are things that only have value because people have decided they have value. Now, that being said, that's how Bitcoin or any cryptocurrency or any currency for that matter operates. So you get enough people together in a room and they decide something has value, and it will, no matter how ridiculous it might seem to you or me. And to me, it does seem ridiculous, but again, so is, a piece of paper that says it's worth something. So it's a very complicated subject. I don't understand them as much as I was going to say as much as I would like to, but I don't actually care to understand them. But either way, CMON's going to be getting involved in NFTs. Maybe you can get that, original 3D render of that miniature that for I don't know what they're going to do with it. I have no idea. Either way, I just thought it's CMON, so it's entertaining to talk about. And then games. For this section, we have like 6 or 7. I'm just going to blur together Kickstarter and non-Kickstarter news together. I have a note about Terra Mystica that I don't remember what it's for. Something about Terra Mystica might be happening. Was there an expansion? I don't know. What's happened with Terra Mystica? Why do I have a note for Terra Mystica? We're going to move on from Terra Mystica because I don't remember what that note is for. We have Fog of Love, Floodgate Games. So speaking of Daryl Andrews' design of Sagrada, Floodgate Games, who put out Sagrada, they acquired the rights to Fog of Love, which was the Walmart deep discounted game that was being sold for like $5, whatever. It may well still have an audience. Keep in mind, one of those things that you never really see behind the scenes of discounted games is all the people who are willing to pay full price. And if you wait long enough for the market to stabilize, there are people willing to pay full price again. I just think that the market got oversaturated. The demand was here. Walmart predicted the demand to be here, and that meant a whole lot of $5 discount copies being sold. But there still will be demand for Fog of Love. Then we have Cyberpunk. Speaking of CMON, so they announced officially that they are coming out with Cyberpunk 2077, the miniatures game. They said the words area control, so I set aside $350 to go towards that pledge, because that's the way it works with CMON and area control. We'll see how that works. I'll actually be putting out a video at some point, probably in a week or two, about CMON and their nature of getting me when I'm not supposed to back a game. But anyways, we'll talk about that later. Then we have Crossroads, the board game. Crossroads is going to be a Steam game, a digital game, a PC game, or as it were, and they are coming out with a board game. So that's going to be coming out. That's going to be on GameFound, I believe. So if you like Crossroads maybe pay attention. And if you've never heard of Crossroads maybe go try the PC game and see if you like it. It's fascinating, by the way. The reviews for that game are actually fairly low because a lot of people really don't like the bugs. And then there's a ton of high ratings inside those ratings where they're like, I love this game even with the bugs. It's very interesting. It seems like the biggest complaint is that there's some bugs in the game. So maybe if or when they clear those out, then it'll be fine. The good news is tabletop adaptations don't really have the same kinds of bugs. They have their own issues, don't get me wrong, just not really bugs or whatnot. Then we have 2 RPG announcements. We have Power Rangers and G.I. Joe. We're going to be getting RPG games. This is Renegade entering the RPG market. We've seen between Avatar, between Tanares, between who knows what. More and more games are crossing over into the RPG space and getting involved in RPG-esque things. So I don't know if it uses 5e. I don't know what it uses or what it doesn't use. Either way, those are just 2 RPG announcements. And then lastly, CMON's pledge manager for Zombicide, Undead or Alive just opened. So if you haven't checked into that, you can go ahead and check into that. Zombicide, Undead or Alive, they have a pledge manager. Check it out, or not, either way. In any case, that is going to be the news and all of that, fairly wrapped up, which brings us to the topic of the week, which, again, there's always going to be these subjects in topic of the week. This week is going to be about my bias towards giving 3s as a rating. And it's more just a moment I had this week that I was thinking to myself, and I was like, wow, that's really kind of dark and messed up, and I just want to talk about it, which is, so we talk about ratings, or I talk about ratings all the time, and I think content creators do to a certain extent, because we're always in this dichotomy of having audiences that don't trust us. The most recent thing that I've seen is, I've seen multiple people who are like, oh, Mythic Mischief from Ivy Games, Mythic Mischief from Ivy Games, tons of content creators saying they love it, all of a sudden with, nothing, we never heard of it until now, and now everyone's saying they love it, I'm suspicious. Okay, that's fine, but that suspicion that tends to happen, it always puts us in a place where we're always cognizant of reviews, ratings, biases, all those things, and we may well talk about them or think about them more often than many of you do, or in the case of some of you, you're thinking about it a lot. It all depends, it's all interesting. But this one is interesting to me because I cover a lot of games. Now, my most common rating on the channel is a 3. If you look at I have a ratings board that I put in my videos, you can check it out. My most common rating is a 3. People sometimes get the perception that it's, 4s and 5s. The most common rating I give is a 3. Most games are good, and then there's some great games, and then some amazing games. That stuff will happen. But what I found interesting this past week is I was thinking of the fact that there's a certain bias for me that I have towards giving a game a 4 and a 5. The bias is that I like being nice to people, and nobody wants their Kickstarter that just came out to... I mean, again, nothing wrong with a 3. I have many 3s in my collection. But I guarantee you there's not a single company that has ever sent me a game for Kickstarter coverage that wants a 3. A 3 is this weird badge of like, okay, congratulations, our game is good. There's a lot of games on Kickstarter. I don't know how many people are backing my good game. So, and the answer, by the way, is usually a lot, but more will back it if it's great. And then the real question, the part that's intriguing, is what's better? Coverage of a 3, saying this game is a 3, in which case I've potentially let, X amount of people know about the game that never heard of it before, and some of which will back it. And then there's going to be another subset of people who were potentially going to back it when it was an unknown quantity, but if I give it a 3, they're like, oh, I can pass on it. It goes both ways, and I tend to track this data on KickTrack. Side conversations for another time, but I would say in general what I have seen is the benefit of me giving a game a 4 or 5 generally has a more noticeable difference than the potential downside of me giving a game a 3. I do track these things when I can. It's a longer separate conversation. But the point is, I do have a bias towards giving a game 4s and 5s because, well, 5s I have to love a game. It's not even a question. But the bias towards, hey, if I'm on the fence, if it's a 3.5, there's a bias because I don't do the 0.5. So where do I go? Do I go towards the 3 or the 4? The bias towards the 4 is going to be, well, I mean, partially, obviously, my own opinions and thoughts and feelings about the game, but also potentially the fact that I don't want to say, hey, thanks so much for trusting me with your prototype, and by the way, I just gave it a 3. Which, again, is not a bad rating, but it's not a giant incentive to go back the okay, pretty good game on Kickstarter. And then the bias towards the 3, and this is the part that struck me, is, and it's not the first time it's happened, I just wanted to talk about it this week, is there's also a bias towards giving a game a 3. Because I want to be able to constantly, whenever I have those people who are like, oh, you give 4s and 5s and you just love all games and you're just the next, whoever. When that happens, I like to be able to respond, no. Check out the data. I have more 3s. My most common rating is a 3. Many games are good. There's some bad ones, many good ones, some great ones, and some really great ones. And so I do have a slight bias of when I'm faced with a rating. The bias towards the 3 is the fact that I need to ensure, I won't fake it, but like there's a bias towards ensuring that 3s are my most common rating. I can't just give 4s and 5s because then my 4s and 5s have less meaning. Now, it's ideally, in all cases, I try to simply go with what I think is accurate. I try to overcome those biases in both directions. The biases of the 3, the biases of the 4, they're biases. They're reasons that pull me in one direction that shouldn't be factors. And in both cases, I do whatever I can to overcome them. I really think to myself, how do I feel about this game? But bias doesn't mean you do things incorrectly. Bias means you have a pull towards doing things incorrectly. And I just thought it was interesting that I do have a pull. All those people who are concerned about the pull towards, you're going to give it a 4, you want to get copies of the game again. Well, I also want my audience to trust me. So I also pull towards the 3. Both those things happen all the time. So just me thinking about it this past week. In any case, moving on to the week in review, let's go ahead and pull up my phone and the things I have and haven't been playing. I got a little announcement of a new, oh, that's not a good time at all. I have a new Nova 7. I got a new launcher on my phone, which just popped up while I'm trying to look at what I played. Let's go ahead and look at what I played, because that's what I'm currently talking about here. Got a whole bunch of things. It's been a packed week. Let's go back through the week and find it all. Starting from where I left off at the end of last week's in review, where I pointed at the table where I had Ankh on the table, and I said, I'm going to be leaving to play this in, well, half an hour. And I did. I played Ankh, so that's going to be the first game we're going to talk about. I played Ankh. I really like Ankh. I've gotten, I think, 3 plays already. I want to get more plays in before I review it. I was hoping to play it tonight. Unfortunately, it didn't happen. I'll be playing it over the weekend. I don't know when I'll have a review. Probably within the next week or 2. I want to get a bunch of games in. I really, really like it. Just to be very transparent. I mean, transparent. I'll talk about it in the review, but to spoil it, not transparent, to spoil it. Ankh is so... It's good. It's good. It's not in the... They're always the comparisons are going to be Rising Sun, Blood Rage, Ankh. Rising Sun for me is gone. I don't have a drive to play it compared to Blood Rage or Ankh. And Blood Rage and Ankh, eventually at some point I will have a play this, not that, but it will not be until I give Ankh both a chance to settle, as well as try it with the expansion, so that I'm really comparing apples to apples. So a play this, not that, might be 3-4 months out, I don't know. Maybe 2 months if I get a ton of plays in, I don't know, but it's going to take some time before I do that. What I will say, and I'll say this again during the review, as of right now, I know which one I think would win, but I'm not yet confident. I need more time. So, Blood Rage and Ankh, very solid games. We'll talk about them more. Next up, we have Agemonia. I got in my first play of Agemonia, which I've, well, since played more. We'll talk about it more. I got in Verdant. Verdant's going to be an upcoming Kickstarter from Flat Out Games, who did Cascadia and Calico. Speaking of which, I'll get to them as I scroll, but I also got multiple plays of Cascadia and Calico in as well. So I also want to do a play this not of those 3 games, of Verdant, Cascadia, and Calico, but I want to do it like a multi-way play this not that with multiple people in it who've played all of them. We'll talk about that. But I got Verdant, Cascadia, then Verdant, Black Rose Wars Rebirth, we have Agemonia again, SOS Titanic, that's going to be an upcoming Kickstarter from Gaming Goat Games. We have Food Chain Magnet. I have not played Food Chain Magnet in a long time. I'm glad I got to the table again. It is a fun game. I need to play with the Catch-Up Mechanism. I need to play with the Catch-Up Mechanism expansion. I haven't done that yet. I need to do that. We got Ankh and Ankh again. So 2 more plays of Ankh. Again, I told you, 3 times so far. We have Calico again. The Isofarian Guard. So Sunday we had Skybound Games. They came in and they basically played, or they showed us, me and Jesse how to play, me and Quacklope how to play the Isofarian Guard. We unboxed it. You may have seen that on the channel. But overall, the Isofarian Guard is a game that I had a Kickstarter video at one point called Why I Didn't Back the Isofarian Guard. And effectively what happened is they watched that video and they then reached out when they had the final copy and they're like, we want to prove Alex wrong. So they... And to be clear, in the video I basically said, the story draws me in, but the gameplay mechanics look light. Now to be fair, I've seen a lot of updates from various viewers actually, saying that they've constantly been updating and improving and developing and building upon the original Kickstarter, so those things may have changed. So both things technically could be true. It could be that I was right at the time, and that it's a great game now. I'll cover it more, I'll talk about it later. I'm already about 2 hours into it. What I will say is I like Isofarian Guard. I believe my rating can go higher, lower, or stay the same depending on how things go. I'm not being too spoilerific, but I am very much enjoying my time with it, and I want to dive back in, but I can't because I need the rules to dive back in, so I'm waiting on him to give me the rules, so now it's his fault, but I do want to dive back into the Isofarian Guard. Then we had My City, got in again 5 more plays of My City, we got like, I don't know, 6 plays left till we're done with the campaign. Basically, we've been playing through My City, a legacy game, and we've been playing it through another couple. We get together like every other week, and we knock out like 5 games at once. We have like probably 1, maybe 2 sessions. I think we could probably power through it. I think we have 6 games left. We have Agemonia. Another play of Agemonia. We have Collab, another play of Collab. Collab is a upcoming Kickstarter going to be mid-September, and that's going to be one. I've played it already and gotten some more plays of that one. We have Beast. Oh my gosh, Beast is so good. So let me give you context to how good Beast is. I'll have a review of Beast. I've already played Beast multiple times. I've talked about it multiple times. I'll have a review of it that's already been filmed. But, like, we'll talk about it later. I feel like, we'll talk about it later. I like Beast a lot. I'm really, really excited and really, really enjoying my plays of it. We'll talk about it more. Isofarian Guard. Got in more plays of Isofarian Guard. Got in 2 more plays of Isofarian Guard. We got in a play of Agemonia. And then what did I play last night that I didn't log? I played something last night that I didn't yet log that I can't remember. I played Agemonia again today. So it's another play. I think I'm at 5 plays into Agemonia. I got 3 of the first tutorial, 2 of the second, and 1 of the second, 1 of the third. There's another game I'm missing here. I don't remember what it is. I hate it when I do this all the time. Oh, Solar Sphere. Solar Sphere, that's what it was. I got in a play of Solar Sphere, which is an upcoming Kickstarter. We'll be talking about that as well. And that's going to cover the What I Played section of, well, this video. Which brings us to the Week in Review. The Week in Review. So we have a whole bunch of things going on. On Saturday, last Saturday, I had a review for Gods Love Dinosaurs and a review for ThreeTale. Short version of those two games, Gods Love Dinosaurs Gods Love Dinosaurs is a solid game, had it for 9 months, gotten a bunch of plays, and I'm ready to move on from it. It's going to be leaving my collection. It's a good game. It's not one that I'm falling in love with. Then ThreeTale. ThreeTale, I'm really enjoying. I highly recommend checking out the Kickstarter. That one is struggling a bit. I think it'll fund, I'm pretty sure. Like, the rule of 3 is you get a third of your funding in the first 2 days, a third of your funding the rest of the campaign, and a third of your funding at the last 2 days. Based on that rule of 3, they will fund, but it will be close. They have like a $9,000 funding goal, so it's not like they have a $5,000 goal. I think they'll fund, but it's going to be close. I am definitely going to encourage people to back it, just because I am selfishly biased. I'm not going to encourage you to back it from a sense of value. I have to look at that. I haven't even checked yet, but just from a stance of I want the game for myself. I really like the game. I've dived into it both as a solo and 3-player experience. Have I played a 2-player? No, I didn't really play a 2-player. Did I? I think I played part of a game 2-player. I'm trying to remember what I did. I'll check my app. My app has my people logged in it. But either way, it's one that I really enjoyed it. I think it's a great solo game. I think it's a great 3-player game. 2-player is going to be a little awkward because you're going to have one person controlling 2 characters and one person controlling 1 character. But overall, I've really been enjoying ThreeTale, although I do hope some things are developed or changed upon. I know they've taken into account the feedback that we gave in our video. I did a full review with Quackalope and with Jesse and Devin from Quackalope, and I know they said that they're taking into account. Doesn't mean they're making changes, but they're factoring it into the way they look at it. Which brings us to Sunday. Sunday I had 2 videos. One was planned, one was last minute. The planned one was going to be the nature of second editions in board games. And just a conversation about the Kickstarter landscape and the way things tend to go about when you have these second editions of games being launched on Kickstarter all the time. The second video that was not planned, but I kind of last minute, I was like, let's go ahead and throw it in, is I did a random Kickstarter update video. Basically just 5 campaigns that were all ending soon. Because I had not done a 2-back or not to back that week, I wanted to just cover them right before they head on out. Which brings us to Monday. Monday was going to be the upcoming Kickstarters for September video, where I go through all the Kickstarters that are going to be launching in September, of which there are a lot of games that I'm really excited about. It's going to be very, very hard to figure out what to spend your money on. It's getting harder and harder. We're seeing a lot of solid games out there. Beast. Get Beast. I'm telling you, it's going to be a good game. Anyways, moving on from there, we have Tuesday. Tuesday was going to be reviews for Mythic Mischief, for Black Rose Wars Rebirth, and then an unboxing of the Isofarian Guard. Let's cover each of those one at a time. Mythic Mischief, I gave a 5 out of 5. It is an amazing, excellent game. I going back to the person who or the people, multiple people, who are like, oh, hype train left, right, and center. Yeah. Hype train left, right, and center. Mythic Mischief is an excellent experience. Every single person I've played the game has either liked it or loved it. And I should say liked it a lot or loved it. It is incredibly thinky. It's going to be a little thinky. That's the biggest cautionary thing I would give. It's not a lighter game like it might look. It's like it's got a lot of thought process, a lot of AP, but it is a really fun, really well done game. It is my favorite IV Games game yet. Although again, that's not necessarily saying a ton because IV Games, they have Moonmakers and Veiled Fate, both of which Moonmakers I think is conditional on the group, and Veiled Fate is not the core mechanism of strategic deduction, is something I've always enjoyed but don't really feel it works. So when I say Mythic Mischief is my favorite, it's because there are 3 games I have good, and great. As far as Mythic Mischief is concerned, I really like it. It is expensive. I will talk about it doing my to back or not to back this Monday. It is definitely expensive. I'm not telling you to get it. I'm just telling you that when I gave it a 5 out of 5, it's because it's a very, very good game. Then we have Black Rose Wars Rebirth. Black Rose Wars Rebirth, I gave a 4 out of 5. Basically the same rating I gave Black Rose Wars because they're basically the same game. I don't think you need this game if you already have content for Black Rose Wars. I think it's a good opportunity to jump into it if this is your first time into the genre. They do have some new things, specifically avatars, but past that, it's a weird space because I'm excited. I like Black Rose Wars, but then I became less excited for this campaign when I realized that I really don't need all that extra content. I already have too much content. Black Rose Wars Rebirth, I don't think I'm backing it. I'll make a decision when it comes down to the wire, but I have too much Black Rose Wars content already. I don't know if I need Rebirth, so we'll see how that plays out. Then we have the Isofarian Guard, which was not a review, it was an unboxing. Basically just talking about the nature of the fact that the Isofarian Guard is available for late pledge for like another 6 weeks, and then the price will be jumping up. That 30-pound giant, bigger than Gloomhaven sized box is currently $79 and will be going up in price if you wait on that. So this is your chance to jump in on it. Now I will have more gameplay content on the game. In fact, today, no, not today. I think next week I'm going to have the first gameplay content. We'll see how it goes. And then as I continue to play through it, hopefully I'll be able to have either first impressions or review. Narrative games are always harder to find that line of whether I got to do a review or first impressions. So we'll see. Either way, you'll have my thoughts at some point, likely before the 6 weeks is up, but we shall see on that. And then moving on from there to Wednesday. Wednesday I did a Should You Back It for Tanares RPG, and wow, that video underperformed. And that's not a big deal at all. Videos will always do well or not, doesn't really matter. What's interesting is I generally have a good sense of how well a video will do, and I put out videos not based on the fact that they have to do well. For instance, Gods Love Dinosaurs is a video that I figure would get like, 1,000 or 2,000 views. It's not the most currently popular game. It doesn't have to do amazing. And that's nature. Again, it's not about every video having to do well. I just was surprised that Tanares RPG did not do well. It has a huge following of people, tons of people backing it. Turns out none of them are you guys, because people did not watch that video. Now, not to say they didn't watch it, I just thought more would. Side point entirely. Point is, Tanares RPG is going to be more content for Tanares, both the RPG side of things and the board game side of things. So if you want to jump in it for board games alone, jump in on it. Now, the same thing is true as Black Rose Wars. If you have plenty of content for the game, you don't need to spend another $180 on the additional content, holding its value or not. That's going to be a personal decision. For me, Tanares is a 5. Black Rose Wars is a 4. Getting more content for a 4 that I already have a ton of content for, I don't need to. When it comes to my 5s, I get it all, logically or not, and it is illogical to get more content for a game that I already am not able to go through all the content. But sometimes I'm illogical. It's not something I'm proud of because I try to be as logical as possible in the channel, but I allow myself that with the games that I truly love. Moving on to Thursday. Thursday was going to be, well, Thursday was confusing. Thursday started with a video of the top 10 worst games in BoardGameCoffee's collection, and then in about 20 minutes when I checked the comments, I saw that there's no audio in the right ear. So to that end, if you ever listen to that, basically, for those listening with headphones, you just hear one side, and it's really annoying. So I pulled down the video as fast as I could and substituted Friday's video in instead. So we swapped videos. So Friday's video became Thursday's video, and that video was games leaving the collection for August. The big one there for me is going to be Tigris and Euphrates. Cthulhu Wars also left, as did other games that I'm sad about, but the biggest one is Tigris and Euphrates, which is a game that I think is amazing and incredible, and over the past 10 years I have played it again and again and again, and I find myself less inclined to pull it out because I've really, really experienced it to death. And so Tigris and Euphrates is leaving the collection. Yes, I'm sad about it. Yes, I will make my peace with it. And no, I probably will not get it back. I might. I don't think so, but I might. You never really know. Games leave my collection, and a lot of games leave my collection. And then every once in a while, I do get one back. If I'm getting rid of somewhere between 10 and 12 games a month, I think maybe one out of every 30, 40 games, I end up having second thoughts about and getting back. It does happen, but it's infrequent. And then Friday's video, which then became BoardGameCoffee, the top 10 worst games in BoardGameCoffee's collection. That was a video I did over in Toronto in BoardGameCoffee's studio, and not Toronto, in Canada. Technically, it's outside of Toronto. But either way, I went ahead and did that in BoardGameCoffee's studio, where I and Daryl Andrews criticized the top 10 worst games in his collection. It's all, it's basically, they're not necessarily bad games. They're just games that we wouldn't choose to own, and we are having fun with them at his expense and going through it. It's a fun little series. I've done it with Quackalope. Quackalope has done it with me. I like the idea of going through someone's collection and saying, these games, you should not own these games, and then arguing it out as much as possible. Although there wasn't as much argument as I would have liked. It was just more fun banter instead. It was really fun banter. I do recommend watching it. I had a good time. Hopefully you will as well. Which brings us to today. Today we're going to have the following. We're going to have a review for Solar Sphere, the game that I've already been playing, and then we're going to have we're going to have a solo playthrough of the first tutorial mission for Agemonia. There's going to be additional content on playthroughs in terms of on Quackalope's channel. He's going to have, I think, tutorials 2 and 3 on his channel, but tutorial 1 is going to be on my channel, me playing it through myself. And then that's going to be today. Then next week coming up, we have a few things. We're going to have a review for Agemonia. We're going to have the Kickstarter launches on September 7th. We're going to have what we backed in August. Rena and I are going to go through the Kickstarters we backed in August. It is a tough one. So one thing I do recommend doing is what I started doing in the last video, and I'm going to be doing going forward, is at the end of that video, as I go through what I did and didn't back, I will be saying, okay, if I could only back 3, which one would I back? And if I could only back 1, which one would I back? Because I still have the bad habit of backing, more than 3. Let's put it that way, more than 3. But if I could only get 3, which would be my top picks? Which are the best ones? And last month it was actually pretty easy to do that. This month it is not easy to do that. I feel like I want to go with if I can only back 5, not if I can only back 3. 3's too hard. But either way, if you don't watch the whole video, just skip to the end and check that part out if you care. If you don't care, well then fine. And then that is going to be, and then we'll have the to back or not to back as well on Monday. And then what else is there? Games on the table. Games on the table are going to be the following. We are I'm hoping to get some of these games played this weekend. We have Viral by Arcane Wonders, actually technically from Meebo Games, but Arcane Wonders most recently. We have Paint the Roses, which I've already talked about. This is going to be an upcoming Kickstarter for October, I believe. I'm pretty sure it's October, early October, but solid game from North Star Games. I really enjoyed it. Cooperative little puzzle. I've already played it. This is just me. I've already played it online. This will be me playing the physical prototype. And then we have Magical Friends, which is again a game I played online, and I hope to play the physical prototype of the game. We'll see how it goes, but I think it does a really solid job overall. Again, already played that one. And then lastly is going to be the fact that this coming week is going to be Rosh Hashanah. Rosh Hashanah is a Jewish holiday, and to that end, I will be offline basically I'll be offline Tuesday and Wednesday. Monday night, Tuesday, and Wednesday. So all of the videos that go up next week on Tuesday and Wednesday, I will not be replying to comments. I'll be gone and not online. So I will see you when I get back. I'm going to go from what I'm doing over here to continue filming videos, because basically when I'm offline for 2 days, that means I need to prep in advance, and then I can't film on those days either. So I'm prepping for all the days out, which means I basically need to get my entire next week filmed by Monday afternoon, or I'm not going to have videos done properly, which is always fun. The holiday, this right here, right now, is the worst holiday season in Jewish holiday season. Right around October is usually when we have the worst. Late September, October, whatever it is, or early September, we have like a month of holidays where it's just every other day is like another holiday. It's a lot, and that does mean a lot of planning. In any case, I am Alex Radcliffe from BoardGameCo. Thanks so much for being here, and as always, have a good one.